The night the river went silent. January 18, 1969. 0217 hours. The Siem Peninsula, South Vietnam. The river is black, flat as oil, reflecting no stars. Humidity presses down like a hand on the throat. You hear insects first. Then the slow electric hum of a PBR engine idling low, barely above a whisper. A 6-man Navy SEAL platoon crouches inside the boat, weapons pointed outward, eyes scanning a shoreline that refuses to reveal itself. Lieutenant Robert Halvorsen checks his luminous watch again. 30 seconds late. That alone is enough to tighten his jaw. The mission clock is already sleeping. Halvorsen is 29, lean, sunburned, with the quiet posture of a man who has learned not to waste movement. His team calls him Red, not for his hair but for his temper when plans fall apart. Tonight, the plan is unraveling by degrees that none of them like to name out loud. The Recon target is somewhere upriver. A North Vietnamese logistics hub believed to be supporting main force units moving south through the mangroves. The intelligence comes from aerial photos, grainy and weeks old, and from a single captured courier who talked just long enough to give grid coordinates before dying from blood loss. No one has put eyes on this place. That is the problem. The order from Naval Command was blunt. Insert. Observe. Do not engage. Confirm enemy presence and extract before dawn. On paper, it reads clean. On the river, nothing ever is. Petty Officer First Class James Walker shifts his M16, careful not to let the sling scrape metal. He is point man. 5 toes. Bronze Star. The kind of SEAL who moves like the dark belongs to him. Right now, even Walker feels watched. The shoreline crawls closer. Mangrove roots rise from the water like skeletal hands. The air smells of rot and diesel and something coppery beneath it all. Halvorsen raises a fist. The PBR engine cuts completely. Silence drops so hard it feels physical. They drift. One by one, the SEALs slip into the water. No splashes. No ripples. Black paint on black wetsuits. Each man carries 70 pounds of gear. Rifle. Ammo. Claymores. Radio. Enough weight to drown twice over. Halvorsen is last. His boots touch mud, thick and sucking. The shoreline is closer than expected. Too close. That means the river is shallower than the chart said. Shallow water means traffic. Traffic means people. People mean eyes. Walker signals halt. Ahead, through the mangroves, there is light. Not a fire. Not a flare. Electric. Weak but steady. The glow of a generator. Halvorsen feels the shift ripple through the team. This was supposed to be empty riverbank. A staging area at most. Not powered infrastructure. Someone screwed up. They move inland, slow, deliberate. Every step sinks, pulls, threatens to betray them with noise. Mosquitoes swarm their faces. No one swats. No one breathes through their mouth. The light resolves into structures. Low buildings. Sandbag positions. Antennas strung between trees. This is not a supply cache. This is a command node. Walker raises 2 fingers, then 3. Enemy personnel. At least a squad. Possibly more. Halvorsen brings up the radio, shielding it with his body. The whisper of static feels deafening. He tries to raise the PBR. Nothing. The jungle eats the signal. They are already deeper than planned. Already compromised by proximity alone. Then comes the sound that changes everything. Footsteps. Close. Too close. A silhouette moves between the trees, less than 20 meters away. No flashlight. No noise. Just a shape that knows exactly where it is going. North Vietnamese Army. Disciplined. Alert. Walker freezes mid-step, one knee lifted, mud dripping slowly from his boot. The man ahead stops, turns his head slightly, as if listening. For 3 seconds, no one moves. Halvorsen knows this moment. Every operator does. The thin edge where recon becomes contact, where silence becomes gunfire, where survivor flips a coin. The silhouette turns away. The team exhales without sound. But the damage is done. This place is alive. Wired. Guarded. Ready. Halvorsen makes the call with a clenched fist signal. Abort recon. Pull back. Walker nods once. They begin to withdraw. That is when the first flare ignites behind them, painting the mangroves in white fire and revealing 6 black figures knee-deep in hostile territory, standing inside a hornet's nest no one was ever supposed to know existed. When recon became a death sentence. The flare hisses as it climbs, burning brighter with every second. White light spills across the water and mangroves, erasing the jungle's shadows and turning concealment into exposure. For a heartbeat, no one fires. Then the night explodes. Automatic rifle fire rips through the trees from the eastern bank. Tracers slash across the river, stitching the mud where the seals stand frozen between water and cover. Halvorsen shoves Walker down hard as rounds snap overhead, back and leaves shredding into the air. Move now. Walker rolls, coming up on a knee, firing shot-controlled bursts toward the muzzle flashes. The sound is deafening at this range. The quiet professionalism of recon is gone. This is survival. Halvorsen keys the radio again, shouting this time, voice cutting through static. PBR, this is Red 1, contact extract now. The reply is broken, barely intelligible, but the engine roar that follows is unmistakable. The enemy fire intensifies. From the tree line, silhouettes multiply. These are not startled sentries. This is a reaction force. Someone knew this river mattered. Someone prepared for tonight. Petty Officer Alan Cruz takes a round through the tie and goes down with a grunt that never becomes a scream. Walker drags him by his harness, mud and blood mixing under their hands. The riverbank that felt close on insertion now seems impossibly far. Grenades arc from the jungle. One detonates short, sending water and mud skyward. Another lands behind them, concussive force slamming Halvorsen face first into the muck. His ears ring. For a moment, the world narrows to breath and pain. Up. Get up. He forces himself upright, shouting commands that are half instinct, half training burned into muscle memory. Claymore out. Cover left. Move now. Walker slaps a claymore into the mud, aiming it toward the tree line. He thumbs the clacker and yells clear. The explosion tears a hole in the darkness, shredding foliage and briefly silencing the gunfire. They reach the water. The PBR skids into view, bow swinging toward shore under heavy fire. The crew is exposed, silhouettes against tracer arcs, but they hold steady. The boat takes hits. Metal screams. Someone on the deck is yelling, maybe wounded, maybe just angry. One by one, the SEALs plunge into the river, swimming the last meters with rifles held high. Cruz is lifted bodily into the boat, blood pouring between the deck slats. Walker follows, then 2 more. Halvorsen turns back. Someone is missing. Petty Officer Mike Reeves. Rear security. Last man out. Halvorsen scans the shoreline, heart hammering. Another flare ignites, bathing the mangroves again. Reeves is there, knee-deep, firing as he moves, face locked in concentration. He is limping. A bus catches him mid-step. He falls forward into the water, rifle disappearing beneath the surface. Halvorsen does not think. He jumps. The river is chaos. Tracers slap the surface, kicking up sharp white splashes. Halvorsen grabs Reeves by the vest, feels the weight pull them both under. For a second, everything is green and silent. Then hands grab them, hauling them over the side. The PBR guns it, engine screaming, turning hard downstream. Rounds chase them all the way out of the bend. Then the jungle swallows the sound. No one speaks. Cruz is unconscious. Reeves is breathing but shallow. The deck is slick with blood and river water. Halvorsen sits against the gunwale, chest heaving, staring back at the dark river. That was supposed to be Recon. Back at the forward base, the debrief is short and tense. Intelligence officers ask questions no one can fully answer. How many enemy? What kind of installation? Was there confirmation of logistics activity? Halvorsen gives them the truth. He tells them it was bigger than assessed. Better defended. Alert. He tells them it felt like a trap. The room goes quiet. 2 days later, the order comes down. Same target. Same insertion. Different team. Halvorsen reads it twice, then a third time. He looks up at Walker, at Cruz's empty bunk, at the mud still caked on their gear. No one says the word refused. But everyone understands it. The briefing that changed everything. January 22, 1969. Naval Special Warfare Group Headquarters. Pre-dawn. The briefing room smells of coffee, damp canvas, and old sweat. Fluorescent lights hum overhead, washing the walls in a sickly pale glow. Maps of the CMR Peninsula are pinned and repinned, corners curling, grease pencil marks layered so thick they are almost meaningless. A new platoon sits at the table. Younger. Fewer lines on their faces. Still dangerous. Still elite. But they look at the map with the quiet skepticism of men who know when something does not add up. The intelligence officer clears his throat. He points to the river bend. Same coordinates. Same mangrove choke point. Same insertion window. The words are careful. Sanitized. Phrases like enemy presence and probable command facility flow through the room. No mention of flares pre-rigged. No mention of reaction forces moving with rehearsed speed. No mention of how close the SEALs came to being cut off from the river entirely. Halvorsen stands at the back of the room, arms crossed, jaw locked. He was ordered to attend. He was not invited to speak. Until he does. Sir. Every head turns. The officer hesitates, then nods. Halvorsen steps forward. He does not raise his voice. He does not dramatize. He simply tells them what happened. The light. The generator. The patrol that walked through their position like it knew they were there. The speed of the response. The volume of fire. This is not a recon target, he says. This is a defended node. You send another team in there the same way and you will lose men. The room is silent again. The commanding officer leans back in his chair, studying Halvorsen. The pause stretches. Authority hangs heavy in the air. Then the words land, flat and final. Mission stands. Afterward, outside the room, Walker lights a cigarette with shaking hands. He does not smoke often. When he does, something is wrong. They want confirmation, Walker says. They want bodies to justify it. Halvorsen does not answer. The second team inserts the following night. They never reach the shoreline. The PBR is hit fast, RPG slamming into the bow before the engine can even cut. The river erupts in fire and shrapnel. 2 crewmen are killed instantly. The SEALs fight their way free, swimming under fire, abandoning equipment just to stay alive. Only 4 make it back. By morning, the target is classified black. Off the maps. The name of the river bend is scrubbed from mission boards. Officially, it becomes a no-go zone pending further analysis. Unofficially, it becomes something else. A line. Within the teams, word spreads fast. Quiet conversations in hutchers. Gear checks that linger too long. Men asking questions that do not have answers. Why was that place so ready? Why did Recon get made twice? Why did command push when the first team said no? The veterans know the pattern. When higher wants confirmation badly enough, they will keep sending men until the picture fits the report. This time, the picture cost too much. Weeks later, a proposal circulates. A deep penetration mission. Larger force. Air support on standby. Aggressive posture. Not recon. Assault. It is reviewed by officers who have read the casualty reports, who have seen the river photos, who understand what waits in that bend. The proposal is denied. For the first time in the war, a target is quietly labeled unacceptable for special reconnaissance. Not because it cannot be reached, but because reaching it again would mean knowingly sending men into a prepared kill zone with no new advantage. Among the SEALs, the lesson hardens into doctrine. Recon only works when surprise exists. Lose that, and elite becomes irrelevant. Years later, instructors will talk about the CMR insertion without naming it. They will describe how reconnaissance can cross an invisible boundary and turn into a death sentence. They will tell students that sometimes the bravest call is not to go back. And when someone inevitably asks why a mission was never repeated, an old chief will shrug and say it was one of the few times the teams decided the price was already paid. The river that stayed marked in memory. March 1970. Mekong Delta. Another river. Another night. Halvorsen crouches in the bow of a different PBR, watching moonlight ripple across the water. The mission is routine. New grid. New intelligence. But the old river never leaves him. It sits behind his eyes, waiting. Every SEAL who went near CMR after that winter carried it with them. Not as a story told loudly, but as a tension in the shoulders, a pause before stepping off a boat. A lesson learned the hard way. The teams adapt fast or they die. Insertion patterns change. River approaches get longer. Surveillance relies more on standoff optics and less on boots in mud. Claymore usage shifts. Extraction drills tighten. The doctrine evolves quietly, written in scars and after-action reports that never reach the public. Officially, the CMR target remains unresolved. No follow-up assault. No bomb damage assessment. Just a blank space in the record. Unofficially, it becomes a measuring stick. You hear it in the way operators talk. This feels wrong. This smells like that place. Too quiet. Too ready. One night, a junior SEAL asks Halvorsen about it directly. They are cleaning weapons under red light, the sound of frogs filling the darkness. Was it fear, sir? Halvorsen pauses, running a patch through his rifle. He thinks of the flare, the way it turned night into exposure. He thinks of reefs sinking under the water, eyes wide but calm. No, he says. It was clarity. Fear makes you freeze. Clarity tells you when to stop. The war grinds on. By 1971, American involvement is thinning. SEAL operations continue, but the tempo shifts. More training. More advisory roles. Less deep river penetration. Then comes the debrief that confirms what they already suspected. Signals intelligence finally cracks traffic moving through that sector. The CMR site was not just a logistics hub. It was a regional command and control node tied to multiple battalion movements. It had overlapping field of fire, pre-registered kill zones, and early warning from river watchers miles out. In other words, it was designed to kill anyone who tried to sneak in. The SEALs had walked into a textbook ambush site, chosen precisely because elite reconnaissance teams would think they could handle it. The revelation brings no satisfaction. It only reinforces the line. Years pass. Vietnam ends. Halvorsen leaves the teams with a chest full of ribbons and a mind full of nights that never quite fade. Walker retires to civilian life, carrying a limb that never fully heals. Cruz survives his wound but never deploys again. Reeves does not. At reunions, someone always brings it up eventually. The mission that stopped. The river no one crossed again. The one time the team said enough. They do not argue about it. There is no bravado in the memory. Only agreement. Elite units are not fearless. They are selective. They choose their battles not to prove courage, but to preserve it for when it matters. And sometimes, the most dangerous mission is the one command insists must be done again, even when the ground itself has already answered. The lesson does not get a name. It does not get a plaque or a paragraph in any public manual. It moves instead through quiet briefings, through the tone of senior chiefs when they pause over a map, through the questions instructors ask recruits at Bod S when they want to see who understands the difference between aggression and judgment. Years after Vietnam, long after CMR has been absorbed into classified binders and fading memory, the principle remains. Recon is not bravery. Recon is patience. In the teams, stories are currency. Not the loud ones, not the kill counts, but the ones that end with a warning. The CMR River becomes one of those stories. Always told slightly differently. Always without coordinates. Always with the same conclusion. Surprise is everything. Lose it, and you are no longer observing the enemy. You are volunteering to be tested by him. By the late 70s, as naval special warfare reshapes itself for a new era, the shadow of that mission still lingers. New technology arrives. Better radios. Night vision that actually works. Sensors that can listen without stepping foot on land. Each innovation is measured against an unspoken question. Would this have changed that night? Sometimes the answer is yes. Sometimes it is no. And when it is no, the mission stays theoretical. Instructors begin running a scenario during advanced training. A river insertion. A defended node. Signs that the enemy is waiting. Students are pushed. Pressed. Told higher wants confirmation. Most press forward. The instructors let it play out until the simulated flares go up, until the students realize they have crossed the line. Then the question is asked. When should you have stopped? The ones who answer too late do not pass. Outside the teams, the legend grows quietly. Other special operations units hear about a reconnaissance mission so bad it was never repeated. The details blur. Some say it was Laos. Some say Cambodia. Some swear it was later, involving different units entirely. The truth stays buried in Vietnam mud and classified files. What matters is not the myth. It is the precedent. Elite forces are allowed to say no only once they have proven they understand why they usually say yes. That understanding is paid for in blood. In the early 2000s, during planning sessions for new conflict in unfamiliar terrain, a senior officer references an old Vietnam-era failure. He does not name it. He does not need to. Everyone in the room knows what he means. If we lose surprise, he says, we do not force the mission. We change it. That sentence becomes policy. The CMR River never appears in public histories of the war. There is no declassified photograph of the site. No documentary footage. No medals awarded for what almost happened. But in the teams, its absence is louder than any citation. It is proof that even the most capable men alive can recognize a fight designed to erase them. And that sometimes, survival is not retreat. It is restraint. The line that never moved. December 1995. Coronado, California. The Pacific is calm, nothing like the black water of the Mekong. A class of new SEALs stands in formation on the beach, wetsuits still dripping, faces hard with exhaustion and pride. They have earned the trident. They believe, as every new generation does, that there is very little they cannot do. An instructor walks the line. He is older. Gray at the temples. His knees ache when the weather shifts. He does not shout. He does not need to. He tells them about a river in Vietnam. No date. No map. No names. Just the moment when a reconnaissance team realized the enemy was not reacting, but waiting. When flares turned concealment into certainty. When extraction became the only victory left. He does not frame it as a failure. He frames it as a decision. You are not here to prove you can die, he says. You are here to decide when not to. The words land harder than any speech about heroism. Because every man in that line understands the truth behind them. Courage is common in war. Judgment is rare. The CMR mission is never repeated. Not because SEALs lack the skill. Not because the target cannot be reached. But because the cost is known, and no longer theoretical. It becomes the Recon mission that set a boundary. The one even Navy SEALs refuse to repeat. Not out of fear. Out of respect for the moment when the ground itself tells you the fight has already been shaped, and it is not shaped for you to win. That line has never moved.